According to the news on the U.S. Naval News website on the 3rd, the U.S. Navy Logistics Support Ship Walleski RRA has arrived at the shipyard of South Korea's Hanwha Ocean Corporation for routine maintenance. This is the first time that a South Korean enterprise has undertaken the ship maintenance, repair and overhaul MRO business for U.S. Navy ships, marking an important step for the U.S. Navy in addressing the difficulty of ship repair and seeking assistance from foreign allies. This logistics support ship is mainly responsible for supplying ammunition, food, maintenance parts and fuel to naval ships at sea. It is 210 meters long, 32.2 meters wide, and has a displacement of about 40,000 tons. After about 3 months of inspection and maintenance work, it will be re-delivered to the U.S. Navy. At the port entry ceremony of this historic moment, more than 50 U.S. and South Korean military and local officials from the U.S. Navy's Far East Military Sealift Command, the South Korean Ministry of Defense, and the South Korean Defense Acquisition Program Administration attended the event. South Korea's Chosun Ilbo pointed out that the maintenance of military ships belongs to the highest level shipyard maintenance business. It is necessary to disassemble the ship's military equipment into parts for comprehensive maintenance and renewal to achieve the performance similar to when it was first put into use. Because it is necessary to have a thorough understanding of the smallest unit of parts. Only the original manufacturer or a trusted enterprise can undertake such business. South Korean media revealed that the Walleski RRA belongs to the U.S. 7th Fleet, stationed in Japan. In the current context of fierce competition between the Chinese and U.S. navies, the U.S. Navy needs to minimize the time when ships are docked due to repairs and other reasons. Due to the decline of the U.S. shipbuilding industry, a large number of U.S. Navy ships are queuing up for maintenance. In addition, it takes a lot of time to cross the Pacific Ocean to return to the U.S. mainland from Japan. Therefore, it is more advantageous to choose South Korean shipbuilding enterprises with high technical levels and close relations with the U.S. as maintenance partners for U.S. Navy ships. At the beginning of this year, when U.S. Secretary of the Navy Carlos Del Toro visited South Korea, he successively visited the Ulsan shipyard of South Korea's HD Hyundai Heavy Industries and the GOG shipyard of Hanwha Ocean, according to the U.S. Defense News. When visiting South Korean shipyards, the U.S. Navy delegation led by Del Toro was shocked by the level of digitalization and real-time monitoring of shipbuilding progress and expressed a strong willingness to cooperate on U.S. Navy ships going to South Korea for maintenance. At present, Hyundai Heavy Industries applied for the maintenance qualification certification of U.S. Navy ships last year and completed the inspection at the beginning of this year. Hanwha applied for the relevant certification in January this year and signed a certificate of recognition with the U.S. Navy's Military Sealift Command on July 22. According to data from the U.S. Naval Research Institute, China accounts for nearly 50% of the global shipbuilding market. South Korea and Japan account for nearly 30% and 17% respectively, while the U.S. production capacity is only 0.13%. Matthew Fennell, a senior researcher at the U.S. think tank Center for Strategic and International Studies, said that although China has the largest shipbuilding capacity in the world, South Korea and Japan rank second and third respectively. Therefore, it is not difficult to understand that the U.S. Navy subcontracts the ship maintenance business to these two close allies of the U.S. In March this year, Del Toro also visited Mitsubishi Shipyard in Yokohama, Japan, and discussed the possibility of using Japanese shipyards to assist the U.S. Navy in maintaining ships during Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida's visit to the U.S. The maintenance of U.S. Navy ships by Japanese shipyards was also mentioned in the US-Japan summit talks to allow Japanese SHIP yards to carry out more maintenance work for U.S. Navy ships to strengthen the military alliance between the two countries. According to the relevant plan, The maintenance work of Japanese shipyards on U.S. military ships only takes 90 days or less. Therefore, sending these ships back to the U.S. for maintenance is avoided, saving about a month of sea voyage. Zach Cooper, a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute and a former Pentagon official, said, "Obviously, the U.S. is having difficulties in keeping up with the modernization speed of the Chinese Navy and producing ships at low cost. One of the solutions to the problem is to cooperate more closely with allies and partners and transfer some maintenance responsibilities to other allies." On the issue of asking for help in ship repair, the U.S. Navy has previously turned to India. Indian shipbuilding companies Larsen & Toubro Lt., Cochin Shipyard Limited, and Mazagon Dock Limited have all obtained qualification certifications for maintaining U.S. Navy ships and signed relevant agreements. In 2022, LT Shipbuilding Company completed routine maintenance for a U.S. Navy dry cargo supply ship. For the first time, how difficult is it to repair U.S. military ships? Although Japan, South Korea, and India all have considerable shipbuilding and maintenance capabilities, the help these countries can provide may still be far from enough for the huge maintenance needs of the U.S. Navy at present. The U.S. Navy ships undergoing inspection and maintenance operations in South Korea and India are all supply ships rather than combat ships. On the one hand, this is related to the U.S. Navy's concern about the leakage of core secrets of combat ships. But on the other hand, it is restricted by relevant U.S. domestic laws. Chosen Ilbo mentioned that according to the Merchant Marine Act, also known as the Jones Act, which stipulates that ships sailing in the United States must be made in the United States, the maintenance work of U.S. Navy combat ships needs to be carried out on the U.S. mainland. It is introduced that the so-called Merchant Marine Act was promulgated in 1920 based on the experience of World War I. It stipulates that shipping between U.S. waters and ports can only be carried out by ships built in the United States, registered in the United States, flying the American flag, owned by Americans, and operated by American citizens or permanent resident crew members. U.S. shipyards must also provide maintenance services for the U.S. government fleet. Only commercial ships sailing between U.S. ports and foreign ports are not subject to this restriction. The starting point of the Merchant Marine Act is to protect the U.S. shipbuilding industry, protect U.S. commercial shipping, and use protectionism to cover up the U.S. shipbuilding and shipping industries to form a favorable competitive situation with international competitors. But in the end, it becomes a classic case of protectionism harming the country and the people. The U.S. Navy's practice of relying on allies to assist in ship repair is facing fierce opposition from U.S. shipbuilding enterprises. These shipbuilders have always been protected by the Merchant Marine Act and are not affected by foreign competitors. But the undeniable reality is that the ability of the U.S. shipbuilding industry to build and repair ships continues to decline, which has seriously affected the combat readiness of the U.S. Navy. The U.S. Foreign Policy website criticized that during the Reagan administration, the United States actually gave up the commercial shipbuilding industry in the name of free trade. From the 1960s to the 1990s, the U.S. Navy successively closed 7 public shipyards. Now, only for naval shipyards in Norfolk, Virginia, Portsmouth, Maine, Puget Sound, Washington, and Pearl Harbor, Hawaii are mainly responsible for the maintenance of military ships. But a large number of main ships built during the Cold War are seriously aging, and the required maintenance workload continues to increase. The task volume of these naval shipyards has long been saturated. Reports say that currently, the maintenance operations of U.S. naval shipyards mainly face 3 major problems: backward infrastructure, insufficient technical talents, and shortages in related supply chains. For example, a 2023 report by Bloomberg disclosed that for naval shipyards responsible for nuclear submarine maintenance have accumulated a large amount of work. resulting in nearly 37% of attack nuclear submarines being out of service and waiting for maintenance. This proportion is significantly higher than 27% in 2017 and 33% in 2022. The U.S. Government Accountability Office said that from 2008 to 2018, due to delays in entering and leaving shipyards, U.S. naval ships lost 10,363 operational days, equivalent to more than 28 years. The main reason for this situation is that the dry docks and other infrastructure of the four U.S. naval shipyards themselves need a lot of maintenance, repair, and modernization. For example, Dry Dock No. 3 of the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard was built in 1919. It does not have nuclear fuel handling qualifications. Submarines must first disassemble nuclear fuel in other places. Moreover, the water depth of this dock is relatively shallow, and the Los Angeles-class submarine can only enter or leave the dock when the tide is high. Relevant statistics also show that there are a total of 17 docks in these four naval shipyards that can provide maintenance and servicing for the old Los Angeles-class nuclear submarines. But the new Virginia-class nuclear submarine is longer and has a larger displacement than the Los Angeles class. There are only 7 docks that can provide maintenance for it on the west coast of the United States. Only Dry Dock No. 6 of the Puget Sound Naval Shipyard can be used to repair aircraft carriers, which also causes the situation of American aircraft carriers waiting in line for maintenance to become increasingly serious. Secondly, due to the continuous decline of the U.S. shipbuilding industry, there is a serious shortage of technical talents. CBS News said that as experienced old workers retire, it is very difficult for the U.S. shipbuilding industry to hire workers with qualified skills. For example, the service time of the new icebreaker of the U.S. Coast Guard was forced to be postponed by 4 years. The main reason is that the ship uses a kind of high-strength alloy steel. If the welding process is not up to standard, there is a risk of quality damage. But U.S. shipyards have not been in contact with such steel for many years. How to redevelop a safe and efficient welding process has become a problem. In addition, due to the long service time of a considerable number of U.S. Navy's active ships, relevant parts production enterprises have closed down, which has greatly increased the procurement cost and waiting time for maintenance. Regarding the severe situation of delays in the maintenance of U.S. Navy ships, the Pentagon is not without solutions. In 2017, the U.S. Navy proposed the Shipyard Infrastructure Optimization Plan, preparing to spend 20 years and use a huge amount of up to $21 billion to comprehensively modernize the four naval shipyards. According to a report released by the U.S. Government Accountability Office, from fiscal year 2015 to fiscal year 2019, the four U.S. naval shipyards originally planned to complete 51 maintenance tasks, but actually only completed 49 tasks. Among them, 38 tasks were not completed on time, with a total delay of 7,424 days. Among these delayed tasks, there were 10 carrier maintenance tasks delayed, with an average delay of 113 days. There were 28 submarine maintenance tasks delayed, with an average delay of 225 days. After investigation, the U.S. Navy admitted that the facilities of these shipyards are aging and the layout is unreasonable. Urgent modernization and transformation are needed. Otherwise, problems such as low work efficiency and gradual elimination will become more and more serious, especially for the maintenance of the U.S. Navy's nuclear-powered ships. The infrastructure of these shipyards is already difficult to meet the needs, according to the Shipyard Infrastructure Optimization Plan. In the future, digital twin technology will be used to establish digital models for the welding workshop, pump pipe workshop, material warehouse, office space, etc. of the shipyard to study the best layout method to improve the production process, reduce ineffective working hours, and improve operational efficiency. Thus, it ensures that U.S. Navy ships can enter and leave the dock efficiently and complete maintenance projects. At the same time, most of the equipment in these shipyards has long exceeded its service life and cannot be maintained by the original manufacturer. According to the plan, after completing the modeling and simulation, the U.S. Navy will formulate specific plans for the improvement of key equipment in the shipyard. The U.S. Navy plans to invest $150 million in equipment renewal investment funds every year, after continuous investment for 20 years. The average service life of shipyard equipment will reach industry standards. But this project also faces huge challenges. The currently used digital twin technology requires a lot of software and time, which means huge investment. This plan takes too long and is a case of distant water cannot save near fire. In addition, the U.S. Congress and the Navy often change the plans. Therefore, it is still unknown whether the shipyard infrastructure optimization plan can be continuously promoted. In addition to upgrading these for naval shipyards, the U.S. Navy is also actively exploring other ways to help. One of them is to contact overseas allies to assist in solving the maintenance operations of some logistics ships. At the same time, the U.S. Navy is also trying to use the docks of private shipyards for maintenance work. For example, the attack nuclear submarine Boise has been queuing up for maintenance at the dock of the Norfolk Naval Shipyard since 2015. However, due to the backlog of maintenance work, it still did not enter the dock until 2018. After that, the U.S. Navy transferred its maintenance work to the private Newport News shipyard. It was not until February 2020 for that the submarine began to be repaired, wasting as long as 9 years on the dock. To solve the shortage of professional talents, the U.S. Navy and national shipyards jointly establish training academies and cooperate with relevant technical schools to provide workers with the skills needed to build high-tech ships. At the same time, shipyards also provide additional allowances to retain these technical workers. In addition, some U.S. media have also called for the reopening of some closed naval shipyards to enhance maintenance capabilities. The U.S. Pacific Daily News website claimed that after the U.S. Naval Shipyard in Guam was closed in the 1990s, the relevant facilities have been sealed up until now. The report claims that reactivating the shipyard can provide maintenance services for U.S. Navy ships deployed on the front line in the Western Pacific.